time. Green shoots have been seen, and we are looking backwards to the fourth quarter gross domestic product figures, Busi. What, in your view, is meant to be that print looking like?
Sure. Yeah, good afternoon, Dumisang, and thank you very much for the invitation. So I really think that when you look at the work that we have done in 2025 overall, I really think that we took the time to lay a very strong foundation for higher growth. We have delivered measurable progress across the electricity and logistics reforms. The private sector has come in and has been galvanized in a very significant way to invest. We saw market confidence returning. We had improved credit ratings, rising business sentiment, recovering investment levels, strong international appetite for South African assets. And I think you would remember that about a month ago, the IMF strongly reinforced the message that business has consistently been conveying on how resilient, the South African economy has been and how we have managed successfully to navigate the global flux and the global challenges that the world faced, in 2025. So I am confident, that the 2024, or rather the 2025 Q4 numbers are going to come out, strong. And I think the overall growth that we should actually be expecting for 2025 should be at least at about 1.3, 1.4%, and that is a very positive story because then we are seeing growth starting to recover and starting to match the population growth, which is about, 1.7%. But we have done the work, Dumisang. So I'm hoping that the numbers will actually evidence, the work that we've done as a country.
Indeed, those numbers have been increasing, albeit slightly. What then is to be said on the side of the argument that this is still not growth enough to create the jobs that South Africa needs to eradicate the unemployment crisis?
You are absolutely right. So the economy is still not keeping pace with the population growth, which means that we continue to get poorer as a country. An average South African is getting poorer over time and has been getting poorer over the past 15 years. So when you look at the population growth of about 1.7%, even if we were to post the 1.4% economic growth, that would still be not enough, to deal with the high unemployment numbers that we actually have as a country. But I think we should not be we should be cognizant of the fact that that growth would be higher than what we have posted before. Dumisang, remember, our growth in previous years has not even touched 1% in real terms, while our economy or while our population has been growing at about 1.7%. So the 1.4% growth, if it indeed comes at that number, should actually be celebrated. Or whatever growth that is going to be higher than what we have posted in previous years should actually be confirmation, that the path that we're on as a country, the trajectory that we're on. I mean, remember the numbers that the minister shared with us, in the budget speech last week, which shows that 2 weeks ago, which shows that, the fiscal consolidation has actually worked. The discipline that we've actually assumed as a country has actually delivered results. And it's tricky, Dumisang, because the growth numbers are always a lag indicator, so you will see all the progress being made. We no longer have load shedding, the ports are functioning as it should, and all of that. But I think the growth would normally come at a much more later stage. So I don't think that South Africans should actually be discouraged, if the growth number comes in at a lesser number than what we're expecting. We should understand that that is just how economies work. You had, for instance, the 11 private sector rail operators that were appointed by Minister Barbara Creecy and were announced in November 2025. The investment that they are going to make is only going to be registered in 2026. So we shouldn't expect that when the announcements are being done, the growth is actually going to come at exactly the same time. We should allow, for the money to be spent in the economy. We should allow for the jobs to actually be generated in the economy and so forth and so forth. And only, probably maybe towards the third quarter of 2026, you probably maybe are going to see that number ticking up. But the foundation and the work that we've done, is putting us on that right trajectory of, expecting that our GDP growth numbers are definitely going to be going up from this year.
I'm glad you highlight the dynamics around the figures and the economic trajectory as a whole, because I wanted to also ask about the current geopolitical tensions that are playing themselves out. Those are likely to affect or not only South Africa, but the global economy, as the likes of the IMF and the World Bank have already indicated. Where should South Africa's positioning be to cushion itself, especially as we are seeing this growth momentum and the business as well as consumer sentiment that is improving, but likely to be hampered on a broader scale by the world economic developments?
Absolutely, and I think what is happening in the Middle East at the moment is definitely going to affect us. I think we should actually be seeing probably maybe diesel increases and petrol increases, coming up, in the next few weeks. And I think that is just the thing, right? With an economy as small as South Africa, we are very whatever happens in the global economy does actually have, an impact on our economy. We are vulnerable to external economic shocks. We are vulnerable to whatever happens, in the broader global economy. We don't have the necessary shock absorbers, as an economy. We are very much dependent, on other economies out there in the world who are obviously not sufficient. We are also an open economy, which means whatever happens in the international economy would affect South Africa. So it's unfortunate that we have done all this work from a domestic perspective. We are focusing on all the right things. We are ensuring that our network industries are functioning as they should. We have energy security. We've got our transport and logistics functioning as we should. We are now focusing on municipal reforms. It would, however, be unfortunate that whatever is happening in the international community somehow, mutes the progress that we've actually done from a domestic perspective, and I think that could make, South Africans to actually be reticent and to actually be despondent to say, what is the point then of us having done all of this work and it is not yielding results? And I think this is precisely, what the interconnectedness of economies and of South Africa as a country means, that you're only not going to see the results as a direct because of your direct efforts. Some of the issues would actually be coming from external factors. But we don't complain when we actually, experience and benefit from the tailwinds, of the gold price going up and whatever the case is. The South African economy benefits immensely. So when those movements in the international economy are in the downside, we should then also expect, to Misang, that we would have that negative impact. So I think it really goes both ways, but I'm still confident, that with whatever that is happening in the international economy at the moment, it is not actually going to undermine our growth efforts. I think the number that we're going to see tomorrow is definitely going to be a higher number than what we've seen in previous years. That is why I'm pegging it at about 1.3, 1.4%.
Thank you, as always, for your contribution. Business Leadership South Africa CEO Busi Mavuso speaking to us ahead of the expected growth numbers from Stats SA.